To the rack. Jonathan Kuminga. Big time move there and a nice back screen to set him up.
It's time for Warriors Wrap-Up. We'll bring you into the locker room and hear from Coach Kerr and the players. Highlights from the game. Warriors Wrap-Up starts now.
Yes, it does. And that highlight you just heard, Jonathan Kuminga with a dunk, called by Tim Roy here on 95.7 The Game. One of many buckets he got tonight. Same old story for Jonathan Kuminga, who's now scored 20 or more points in 8 consecutive games. And guess what? He shot 50% or better from the field in all 8 of those games. It's rare that people wearing Warriors uniforms do that. And there's a great stat that I will get to you in a little bit here on Warriors Wrap-Up on 95.7 The Game. But Kuminga leads the Warriors to a win in Memphis over the Grizzlies. Final score 121-101 on this Friday evening. Welcome in to Warriors Wrap-Up on 95.7 The Game. Mark Randy with you. Shout out to everybody already chiming in on our YouTube chat, powered by First NorCal Credit Union, Dublin Marge, my family, others as well. I got the Comcast Business text line up. Give me a text, 888-957-9570. I already see the 925 chiming in, talking about Jonathan Kuminga's great game, and I'm taking your calls here on this Friday night on 95.7 The Game as we react to the Warriors' second consecutive win. And believe it or not, the Golden State Warriors, as you look at their record now, they're 21-24. So the Warriors have played 45 games this season. 45 games for the Warriors this year. This is only the third time that they've won consecutive games this season. The third time this entire season that they've won consecutive games. I don't know if you could call a 2-game streak a winning streak per se, but they had a 5-game winning streak. They had another 5-game winning streak, and now they have a 2-game winning streak. That's the only time this season. Those are the only 3 times this year that the Warriors have won consecutive games. So today was a step in the right direction for the Warriors. However, when we are talking about this game and when we're focusing specifically on the result, win or loss, it is very important to note that Memphis is playing without tonight like 4 of their 5 best players, and it really was the same situation as when the Warriors strolled into Memphis a couple of weeks ago on MLK Day, and the Warriors got upset by the upstart Memphis Grizzlies, playing without Ja Morant, without Desmond Bane, without Steven Adams, who was traded yesterday, by the way, but he hasn't played all season, without Brandon Clark. The last time the Warriors played, also without Derrick Rose. Marcus Smart out as well. A lot of the same guys also not available tonight for the Memphis Grizzlies. In fact, they had a few players available today that were not available the last time the Warriors played Memphis a couple of weeks ago. But the Warriors, they got the win 121-101. They led wire to wire for the most part after a close first quarter. Went up by 10 at the end of the second quarter at halftime, and then the teams kind of just traded buckets for much of the second half until Steph Curry made a few threes in the fourth quarter, and the Warriors pulled away, and they win 121-101 over the Memphis Grizzlies. A gotta-have-it win. I put out a tweet pregame. Is this a must-win for the Warriors? It feels weird talking about that on the 2nd of February. But considering where the Warriors are in the standings, considering what their aspirations are, and considering the opponents, I think there's no excuse. The Warriors absolutely had to have this game, and they took care of business. So a box checked there for the Warriors. Again, 121-101 is the final score. All right. Once again, welcome into Warriors Wrap-Up on 95.7 The Game. Mark Randy with you. We got a lot to get into, and it's the youth movement tonight. The youth movement tonight. Give me a call, 888-957-9570, because there's a lot to be happy about from these young guys. Let's start with Jonathan Kuminga. Jonathan Kuminga tonight, 29 points, 11 of 15 from the field, also had 6 rebounds and 4 assists, a couple of steals as well. He was a plus 15, second best plus minus on the team, only to the other young guy that I will be talking about in a little bit. That was Brandon Podziemski. But Jonathan Kuminga, 29 points, 11 of 15 from the field, and he scored all 29 of those points in the quarters 2, 3, and 4. He was scoreless in 6 first-quarter minutes, 0 for 2 from the field, and then scored 29 points over the next 31 minutes that he played over the final 3 quarters of this game. I think something also important to note is how Steve Kerr handled Jonathan Kuminga's minutes in this game. Kuminga didn't have his best first quarter. In fact, in recent memory, it was one of his worst stretches of play, honestly. And that's nothing, it's not like he was terrible in the first quarter. That just more speaks to how good he has been recently. It was not a very good first quarter for Kuminga. 0 for 2 from the field, missed a couple of defensive assignments, but then Steve Kerr brought him back in to begin the second quarter. He played every second of the second quarter, and he was the driving force behind the Warriors' 9-point advantage in that second quarter that pushed it to a 10-point lead at halftime. Just the variety of ways in which he's scoring the basketball, despite the fact that it's not coming from the three-point line. He took 1 3-pointer tonight, and he made it, and it was in the second half. He is a threat with the ball in his hand on the offensive end, and he's doing it in the mid-range. He's doing it by driving from the perimeter. He's doing it by posting up. He's doing it by getting out and running in transition and scoring in the fast break. He is scoring in a number of different ways, but 11 of 15 from the field, 29 points. And then I love the other areas, the other categories on this box score as well for Kuminga with 6 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 steals. And it's getting to a point, and I know I've talked with you guys about this a little bit in the past on Warriors wrap-ups here on 95.7 The Game. it's not just Kuminga's offense in terms of his scoring that is developing, and you can see it developing. I mean, the confidence that he has anywhere within like 15 feet of the basket, it's never been higher, and it's not particularly close. But you also see him just seeing the game so much better. So much better. There was a moment, I got to scroll back in my notes and find this. So it was early in the fourth quarter, and the game was kind of hanging around 8 points, 10 points, 12 points. The game was around that margin for really the entire second half, it felt, until maybe 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter when the Warriors pushed it up to 15, 16, 17. But there was a moment where the game was still kind of hanging in the balance, and the Warriors were going with kind of an interesting lineup. There was Podziemski, Quinones, Klay Thompson, Trayce Jackson-Davis, and Jonathan Kuminga out there. And Jonathan Kuminga off of a Klay Thompson miss. So it was a Klay missed three-pointer. Jonathan Kuminga kind of got a little bit lucky, and the rebound was a long rebound, bounced all the way back out to him. He grabbed the rebound, dribbled in from the corner on the right side. He got the rebound around the right wing, dribbled into the corner. No one picked him up until he started to drive. He could have taken a little pull-up 12-foot jumper, which he's actually pretty proficient at. But it was Jaren Jackson Jr. who came over to help and stopped the drive. And Kuminga, instead of either forcing something up over the top of Jaren Jackson Jr., the reigning defensive player of the year, instead of trying to go at him and drive through his chest, which Kuminga certainly has the strength to do, that's a tough matchup. Instead of trying that, which I think he would have tried last year, he certainly would have tried 2 years ago. Hell, he probably would have even tried like 2 months ago. Instead of doing any of that, Kuminga saw Klay Thompson wide open, cut to the opposite corner. So Kuminga's in the short corner on the right side after he drives baseline off the offensive rebound. Klay Thompson moves over to the left corner. He's wide open. And Kuminga, instead of forcing something against the reigning DPOY, a one-handed kind of slingshot whipped bounce pass along the baseline perfectly to Klay Thompson for a wide-open three-pointer. That is where we're seeing Jonathan Kuminga grow and evolve the most. The scoring is incredible, and he's so efficient inside of 15, 14, 13 feet. He's got a really reliable mid-range jumper when he's in rhythm, and you know that he can take someone off the dribble, and you know that he can back someone down on the post. How many times does he just shrug off a defender because he is stronger and quicker than them? It happens like 5 times a game now. It's easy to lose count. But that pass that Jonathan Kuminga made, one-handed, whipped along the baseline on a bounce to Klay Thompson, perfectly placed right in the shooting pocket, and Klay Thompson catch and shoot three swish. We have not seen that from Jonathan Kuminga yet in his career, and he did it tonight. And that's just one example. Kuminga is developing not just as a scoring weapon, but as an all-around offensive basketball player. And that is incredibly encouraging for the Warriors moving forward as they try to get back into the postseason race now and also perhaps turn their attention to the future. Because every single night it's looking more and more and more like Jonathan Kuminga is not just a part of that future and isn't just a part of why this team may be successful now. It's looking like he's a driving force behind that. Tonight was really, really good for Jonathan Kuminga. Shout out to Enrique, my family, Carson, Ed, Dublin, Marge, all popping up here on the YouTube chat, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. Everyone's loving the Jonathan Kuminga game. Ed says this was a good win. This team looks like they're on the same page. Yeah, it kind of feels like they finally have a little bit of rhythm right now. And my family reacting to that play I'm talking about with that Kuminga pass, Kuminga's reaction when Klay made that shot, he was so happy. You're right. If I remember, he's running back down the sideline and he kind of puts his hands up in celebration. And that almost feels like a Brandon Podziemski reaction, right? Because Podziemski, and he said it post-game on NBC Sports Bay Area, if you were watching the post-game show, shout out to our guy Bonte Hill holding down the fort on NBC Sports Bay Area. But Podziemski was asked about his 14 assists. Yeah, Enrique, 14 assists for Brandon Podziemski tonight. He was asked about those assist numbers, and he's like, I'm a point guard. I care about getting my guys the ball and getting those assists. I'm obviously paraphrasing. He didn't say this word for word, but essentially, I care more about getting my guys easy buckets than I care about getting buckets myself. And I think to your point, who was it? My family. To your point, my family. Kuminga's reaction on that assist to Clay, it kind of gave off that kind of Podziemski energy, right? Like, I am so ecstatic I made a great pass and got my guy an easy bucket. And I think to Kuminga's credit, we're seeing that more from him now. But let's talk about Brandon Podziemski as well, because he was really, really good in this game as well. A near triple-double. He had 12 points, 7 rebounds, and 14 assists. Those 14 assists, the most that a rookie has had in the NBA this season. Not just the most a Warriors rookie has had, not just a career high for Brandon Podziemski, the most assists that a Warrior has had I misspoke after I set myself up for it. The most assists that a rookie has had in the NBA this season. 14 assists. Even 12 would have been the most. But Podziemski added a couple more for good measure. 14 assists for Brandon Podziemski tonight. And, sometimes you see some gaudy assist numbers and you look back and you watch the tape and it's just, the guys were making shots left and right. Every pass that he was making, Clay would just take a contested three and he'd hit it. One of those nights, right? This was a point guard night for Brandon Podziemski. And how many times would you see him driving? There was a stretch, I think it was in the third quarter. I got to scroll back through my notes and make sure I find this here. Here it is. So it was late in the third quarter, and these were on consecutive offensive possessions for the Warriors. Podziemski drives kind of along the left wing, left baseline, and Kevon Looney's man comes over to help on the left block when Podziemski gets into the paint. And I believe it was Jaren Jackson Jr., again, the defensive player of the year. And Podziemski drives at him. The help comes, and Podziemski, instead of trying to, again, force a shot over the top of a taller defender, much like we're talking about with Jonathan Kuminga on that other example, on that pass along the baseline, Podziemski sees the help defender come. He goes up into the air, kind of almost makes it look like he's going to try to finish, gets the defender into the air, and at that point, when the defender is in the air, he's relatively helpless. And then Podziemski pulls back the shot attempt, and a beautiful wraparound pass around the back of the defender to a wide-open Looney who's hanging out on the right block. Looney, an easy finish, an easy bucket, and it's created by Podziemski. The drive, the wherewithal to know where the help defender is, and thinking through it, and not forcing something up against a good defender leads to an easy bucket. Then the Warriors get a stop on the other end, and believe it or not, this might be the first time we've said this so far this season, but Kevon Looney beats everyone down the floor, and as a result, Derrick Rose is forced to pick up Kevon Looney. That is mismatch central, and what happens is Looney tries to post up Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose tries to front Looney to discourage the pass going in there. Podziemski, though, sees the mismatch from the top of the key, and over the top of like 3 different defenders, his own defender, Looney's defender, Derrick Rose, and there's a couple of others kind of hanging out around the middle part of the floor. Podziemski, just trusting Looney to go up and get it, throws a perfect lob pass over the top of the defenders. Looney, an easy catch. He gives his patented little pump fake, right? And then he finishes for an easy bucket. So these aren't just like run-of-the-mill passes to the perimeter, where you're just within the flow of the game plan, and Podziemski just throws a skip pass as you're swinging the ball around the perimeter, and Clay takes a tough shot and he makes it, right? Like, that's an assist. But not all assists are created equal. And Brandon Podziemski had 14 assists today, and a lot of them, those are just 2 examples because they happened back-to-back, and I made specific note of them here. A lot of Podziemski's 14 assists were like real point guard stuff. Real point guard stuff. And did you notice who did not play tonight for the Warriors? There was only one active available Warrior tonight that did not play. Jerome Robinson got in for about 2 minutes of garbage time at the end. Trace Jackson-Davis played 9 minutes. Lester Quinones played 19. Guy Santos played 10. We can talk about those guys as well. I think they brought some positive energy for the Warriors tonight as well. The only Warrior that was available tonight that did not play, Corey Joseph. And I've been in agreement with a lot of you guys on the YouTube chat, powered by First NorCal Credit Union, on the Comcast Business text line. Shout out to the 510 who says, let Pods pass it. If you follow us for our Niners coverage, the kickoff show and overtime here. And by the way, shout out to next weekend when the Niners are in the Super Bowl. We'll have a ton of Niners coverage for you there. But the 510, that's a callback to some of our other coverage. But I'm with you, 510. Let Pods pass it. He's great at it. He's incredible at it. But I think what a lot of Warrior fans have maybe been a little frustrated with at times is the minutes that Corey Joseph gets. And I've been a little hesitant because I don't necessarily think it's fair to Corey Joseph. He's the third point guard on this team, Steph Curry, Chris Paul, and then Corey Joseph. And the only reason that he's getting somewhat consistent minutes is because of the injuries. But for the last couple of weeks now, I've been on your guys' bandwagon, and it's been because of what we've seen from Brandon Podziemski. Brandon Podziemski, before tonight, but especially after tonight, has shown plenty that he is able, and I think more ready for this than I ever expected him to be at this stage of his career. He is more than ready to be a point guard on this team, and not just be in alongside Steph Curry, alongside Chris Paul when he's back and healthy, and if he is still a Warrior through the trade deadline. Brandon Podziemski is a good enough distributor, ball handler, shot creator, passer. He is good enough at all those things to be a point guard on this team. And I think that's good news for the Warriors, because Podziemski, while you could just, say, oh, he's a young guy, and I see a lot of this on Twitter, right? Like, Podziemski is clearly one of the Warriors' best players, but it's a little bit I don't know, weird, because he is a rookie picked 19th overall coming out of Santa Clara. And it's like the Warriors can't possibly be that good of a basketball team if this guy is one of your best players, right? But I mean, just when you watch the games, when Podziemski's out there, good things happen. Really, they do. And I think Podziemski's ability to handle that position gives the Warriors a little bit more flexibility when it comes to their rotations. And there were some interesting rotations today, right? I mean, we saw Guy Santos and Lester Quinones get first quarter minutes, and it wasn't just happenstance, foul trouble, Kerr's going to throw someone in there, you're down some bodies, right? Dario Saric is out today. Like, it wasn't just that. Like, it wasn't just fill 5 minutes for us. The same rotation pattern held true in the third quarter as well. Both Guy Santos and Lester Quinones gave you minutes in the first half and in the second half. In the minutes in the first quarter and the third quarter. And they did fine. Guy Santos played about 10:45. He was 2 for 2 from the field, grabbed a couple of rebounds. He's a good rebounder for his size, Guy Santos is. And Lester Quinones made 3 shots, 2 of them three-pointers. He had 10 shots, and active on the glass, Lester Quinones with 6 rebounds and an assist. Did turn the ball over a couple of times, but that's going to happen when you don't get a ton of minutes at this level. Quinones and Guy Santos with positive minutes for the Warriors. But the story of this night, without a doubt, is Jonathan Kuminga and Brandon Podziemski. Again, Kuminga had 29 points. It's his 8th straight game with 20 or more points. And I tease this, and I'm mad at myself for not paying this off to you guys just yet. Jonathan Kuminga now has 20-plus points in 8 consecutive games. And he shot 50% or better in all 8 games of that 20-point streak. The Warriors, in Warriors history, the only players to have 20 or more points on 50% or better shooting from the field in 8 consecutive games, here's the list. Stephen Curry has done it twice. Wilt Chamberlain, Phil Smith, Bernard King, Chris Mullin, David Lee, Kevin Durant, Jordan Poole, and Jonathan Kuminga. Those are the only players in Warriors history with 20 or more points on 50% or better from the field in 8 consecutive games. Again, those numbers. Steph Curry did it twice. Future Hall of Famer. Will Chamberlain, clearly a Hall of Famer. Phil Smith, Bernard King, Chris Mullin, Hall of Famer. David Lee, Kevin Durant, future Hall of Famer. Jordan Poole, and Jonathan Kuminga. That's how good Kuminga has been during this 8-game streak. And honestly, 50% from the field, 20 or more points in 8 straight games, that's honestly selling his streak a little bit short because he's been shooting like 75% from the field. Another note from Jonathan Kuminga, and this comes courtesy of the Warriors themselves. Kuminga, in addition to 8 consecutive 20-plus point games, he now has 25 straight games in double figures and is that's the franchise's longest streak from a player 22 years old or younger since Monte Ellis in 2008. Jonathan Kuminga, the franchise's longest streak, scoring in double figures. 25 consecutive games in double figures for Kuminga, the franchise's longest streak from a player 22 years or younger since Monte Ellis. And you consider what Jonathan Kuminga is doing, you consider what Brandon Podziemski is doing, it kind of begs the question for the Warriors, because so much of the last month around this Warriors team has been dedicated to what's happening next Thursday, 6 days from now. And that's the trade deadline. And I guess this is, our question of the night here on Warriors Wrap-Up on 95.7 The Game. Has your mind changed about the trade deadline? Because you look at the rhythm that this Warrior team is in without Moses Moody, without Chris Paul, without GP2. Are you still on board with the Warriors trying to make a major move? Because as far as I'm concerned, I don't see a world in which the Warriors are trading any one of the big three. It's certainly not going to be Steph Curry. You can see the impact that Draymond Green has made the second that he returned to this team. He unlocked the Kuminga-Wiggins minutes, and clearly he's still a great defender, and he's making his shots on the offensive end as well. Jonathan Kuminga seems to be approaching untouchable territory. Andrew Wiggins has been improved. Maybe you still want to move off of Andrew Wiggins, but is that really going to be worthwhile considering you're not going to get all that much back? But how do the rotations change when Moody is back? And Steve Kerr said pregame that could be as early as Monday. He will not play tomorrow when the Warriors are in Atlanta, but perhaps he'll play on Monday. How do the rotations change? Does Moody become the guy that gets moved at the deadline? Not that that's something I want. I think Moody is a promising young player as well. But when you look around at this Warriors team right now, when this team gets healthy again, you're going to have some lineup constraints, some rotation issues. You're going to get players that deserve more minutes than you can hand out, than you can allot on a given night. Like, how does Moody slide in? How does Chris Paul slide in? Are you taking minutes away from Podziemski after a night like tonight? How does GP2 slide in? Does that mean fewer minutes for Jonathan Kuminga? If that happens, we'll have a riot on our hands in downtown San Francisco. There are issues in terms of minutes moving forward. So my question for you is, has this recent stretch of play specifically from Kuminga and Wiggins, because of Draymond Green's impact and Brandon Podziemski, has that changed how you feel about the Warriors' deadline plans? Because the issue is still going to present itself in terms of rotations and minutes and regular rotation minutes for a number of these guys. Those issues will present themselves again once this team gets healthy once again. All right, let's hit a quick break here on Warriors Wrap-Up. We got to hit a call as well. Mark in Millbrae, I see you. We'll get you right when we come back from a break. 30 minutes down here on Warriors Wrap-Up. We'll keep going on the other side. The Warriors knock off the Grizzlies 121-101. They've won consecutive games for just the third time this season. They won 5 in a row. 2 other times they've now won 2 in a row. And the Warriors at the moment are now back to 3 games under 500 at 21-24. All right, time for a break here on Warriors Wrap-Up. My name is Mark Randy, back with more on the other side on 95.7 The Game.
Meet Cheryl.
Hey.
She's on vacation and lost in the moment. Unfortunately, so is her Chase debit card.
It's got to be somewhere.
Maybe she lost.
Timeout Memphis. 44-37, a 10-2 Warriors run.
Now back to Warriors Wrap-Up on 95.7 The Game.
Yeah, I got news for you. You getting a foot race to Jonathan Kuminga? You're going to lose. You're going to lose. Jonathan Kuminga is faster than you. He's probably stronger than you. He can certainly jump higher than you. And right now, he's more confident than you. 8 consecutive games with 20 or more points for Jonathan Kuminga, shooting 50% or better in all of those games. And let's just run through some of those recent box scores for Kuminga, because it's honestly is better than just 50% shooting. Like tonight, 11 for 15 from the field. He had a 9 for 12 in there. He had an 11 for 11. Remember that win against Atlanta a little more than a week ago. 11 for 11 from the field. He had 25 points in that game. The tough loss to the Kings, he was 12 for 19 when he had 31 points. He was 11 of 19 last time out a couple of days ago against the 76ers. And tonight, 11 for 15 from the field. So we're looking at more than 60% from the field, Jonathan Kuminga, over that stretch. Over an 8-game stretch where he scored more than 20 points in all 8 games, and he's shooting a blistering 60+% from the field in those games. He is reaching another level, and the development that he has gone through pretty rapidly, right? Like, we talked through some of the plays that he made, and the scoring is one thing, and it's fantastic, and it's great. He led this Warriors team in scoring, and it wasn't particularly close. Curry had 20. Kuminga had 29. He was the driving force offensively all night long. I guess maybe aside from the first quarter when he was scoreless on 0 of 2 from the field, but the rest of the game, 29 points over the final 3 quarters, 11 for 15 from the field after an 0 for 2 start. So 11 of 13 in the final 3 quarters for Kuminga. He's the driving force offensively, but you always saw flashes of that offensively. The issue with Kuminga early in his career, the first couple of years of his career, and even October, November, maybe even December of this year was, you'd see those flashes, but in between those flashes, you'd have those stretches where he would just put his head down, run over a defender, he'd try to dribble around someone, get it poked away and stolen. Those aren't happening anymore. He's learned from those mistakes. He's compartmentalized those issues. And either he's just simply deciding, okay, I know that's a bad matchup for me, I'm not going to attack it, or he's saying, hey, this is there's a double team coming, there's someone helping, I need to use my ability to maybe drive past this guy. I won't be able to finish because there's the help, but I'm going to look and find the right guy to pass the ball to. And he's doing that time and time again now. And tonight there's like 4 or 5 examples of it. I mentioned that one where he had that great whipped pass along the baseline with one hand on the bounce to Klay Thompson in the corner off of an offensive rebound, and it led to a corner 3 for Klay, and he made it nothing but net. Like, those are the moments where you see the development of Jonathan Kuminga and how rapidly it is happening. And it's a sight for sore eyes for this Warriors team, because they would absolutely love for this consistent Jonathan Kuminga to become the norm. And I mean, it's been the norm recently over the last couple of weeks. But if this is truly who he's going to be from here on out, this is a much better Warrior team than we thought they were going to be maybe a month ago, because Kuminga is playing at that high of a level at the moment. All right, out to the phone lines we go here on Warriors Wrap-Up. You got a call. You got a thought about Kuminga. Brandon Podziemski, you are happy about how this Warriors team looks right now, consecutive wins. You got a question or a thought about the trade deadline, which is now just 6 days away. Give me a call, 888-957-9570. As promised, though, up first is Mark in Millbrae. Mark, what's up? You're on a Warriors Wrap-Up here on 95.7 The Game. How you doing, Mark?
What's up, man? Yeah, really impressed with Kuminga. This is the best stretch he's played, and he's showing he deserves to be part of this core. And I think Warriors management is going to keep him going forward. This kid has the potential to be an absolute stud, and he's showing once he gets the run, playing time. I know he's been at odds with Kerr. He's showing what he can do. So I think it's here to stay. He's still only 21 years old, and he's going to continue to build on what he's been doing, but I think he's untouchable going forward. As far as the team overall, I wanted to see how they would come out tonight. I know Memphis is depleted, coming off a great win over Philly, how they would come out tonight, and luckily they took care of business. But all in all, just Podziemski really, really shining. And in terms of the rotation going forward, the odd man now might be Moody. In terms of the trade deadline coming up here, honestly, I don't think they have anything really to offer except CP3 because he's an expiring contract, but I don't think anybody really wants Wiggins' long-term deal, and that's pretty much all they have to offer. They're not going to move on from Draymond or Klay. So it looks like, barring some unknown star is on the market in a couple of days, I think they're probably going to stand pat, make a minor trade. I don't think adding somebody like Murray is going to be possible or anything like that. So I just want this Warriors team to continue to play. You got a stretch of games here where you can get back in the race here, get back in the play, and hopefully get maybe if you get hot enough, get a 60. Do you think that's possible, or do you think with the way they start off in the bottom of the West there, they're going to be battling Dallas and the Lakers, Pelicans for the play-in seed? How do you think this is going to play out, or can they get hot here and maybe get a 6 seed and stay out of play-in? I'll take your thoughts on that.
Yeah, good call, Mark. Appreciate it. Look at the schedule, or pardon me, the standings right now. The Warriors are sitting at the 12th spot at the moment. They are half a game out of the 10th seed, which is the final of the 4 play-in spots. They are a full 5 games out of the 6th seed. And you look at some of the teams they would have to jump to get up to that 6th seed. You've got Houston ahead of them, Utah ahead of them, the Lakers, Mavericks, Pelicans, and then the Suns currently sitting in that 6th spot. You've got Sacramento, 1 game ahead of the Suns, so you could easily see Sacramento maybe fall off. The Suns keep winning. They've been good of late, winners of 7 of their last 10. But there's a clear drop-off in the West after the top 4. OKC, Minnesota, the Clippers, and the Nuggets are all separated by a game of each other at the moment. And then you've got to drop off the Kings, the Suns, the Pelicans, and the Mavericks really in the next tier. And then you've got Lakers, Jazz, Rockets, Warriors in that last tier that are competing for postseason spots, at least non-regular season spots, right? Competing for the playoff plus the play-in spots. Getting to the 6th seed, while there is plenty of time left, you're only 5 games back and you've only played 45 games, so you're just a little over halfway through your full schedule. There's time, and if you get hot, you could easily catch up to a number of these teams, but you're going to have to play really, really good basketball. That's what the Warriors have cost themselves. They don't have really much margin for error. Now, to your point earlier, Mark, I'm with you. I don't think that there is a major move to be made out there. I know you mentioned DeJounte Murray for the Hawks, who the Warriors will see again tomorrow night in Atlanta. They were just at Chase Center a little bit ago, and that was the win where Jonathan Kuminga was incredible, 11 for 11 from the field. I don't think there's a major move out there. And if the Warriors are going to make a move at the deadline, or before the deadline, I should say, it'll likely be a minor move and probably a money-saving move, which means maybe Chris Paul is on his way out. Potentially it's Andrew Wiggins. But if you are trying to get anything of value in return, anything that can make your team even marginally better, you're going to have to attach something to a Chris Paul or to an Andrew Wiggins, in my opinion. Wiggins has certainly played better lately, but I don't think enough to rehab his league-wide reputation or his league-wide value enough to where someone's going to give up a valuable piece in return for Wiggins. And what value pieces do you have that you can even ship out, that you want to ship out to get someone back? I mean, we're fielding callers and messages on the Comcast Business text line and on the YouTube chat powered by First NorCal Credit Union, right? Like, Jonathan Kuminga is untouchable. That's the point that he's getting to. And the Warriors already seemed like they didn't want to move him even like a month ago, before this great 20-plus point stretch, right? Over his last 8 games, scoring 20 or more points while shooting 60% or more from the field as a whole in that stretch of basketball. So who's the other? As Mark said, the odd man out may be Moses Moody. And Mark, I would agree. If the Warriors make any sort of move that isn't just purely money-saving, I think Moody is the guy that gets moved. But I'm not even sure that's even likely. Because what really would Moses Moody get you at this point? I'm not sure. I think it's just kind of the situation the Warriors are in. They have a number of guys who are relatively valuable to them and can be positive impacts for them. But how much is that going to affect you on the open market at the trade deadline? I'm not so sure. So we'll see what the Warriors do. I would say any kind of trade seems relatively unlikely, but certainly a trade involving like an all-star or a big name seems almost difficult to imagine for me at this point. But let's go back out to the phone lines here on Warriors Wrap-Up. We're going to hear from Coach Kerr coming up in just a little bit as well before we do get on out of here on Warriors Wrap-Up. But up next is D in DC. Love hearing from D always here on Warriors Wrap-Up. D thinks the Warriors still need a move. D, what's up? How you feeling tonight?
What's going on, Evan?
Hey, what's up, D? Hey, it's Grandy, D. Evan and I split off. It's Grandy today.
Grandy, my bad, Grandy.
You're good, man.
With you, man.
You're good. What's up?
As happy I am with what I've seen the last couple of games. I'm not optimistic as many of the fans that have been calling. We still have too many dead weights on the roster right now that we can't even use, right? Looney, Moody, Saric, even though he's able to produce a few points here and there, but defensively he makes us worse, right? And we have a lot of other players that we can't even use right now. We are too small. We still need another wing and a center or a big man just to help us to be more versatile. So there are moves to be made. It's just a matter of the front office to do whatever is necessary to make those moves happen. We can't continue to allow Clay to hold us hostage. That money that he wants, he's definitely not worth it right now, man. I love Clay. I would love to keep him, but he needs to come off his high horse and recognize that his game is no longer what it used to be. Now we need to solve the non-Dre minutes. When he's not on the floor, we are not very good. When he's on the floor, we are a top basketball team. But when Dre is not on the floor, forget it. We can't defend, and we can't even make point. We can't even score the ball. So somehow, some way, we need to find a way to solve that problem. That's all I had, but I'll just hang up and listen to you from the other side.
Yep. Thanks, D. Appreciate the call. I'm glad you brought up the non-Draymond minutes because I agree with you, D. It has been an issue at times. It's kind of like the non-Steph minutes. The non-Draymond minutes just as much sometimes of a problem for the Warriors. Although it wasn't really tonight. Remember early, about midway through the third quarter, Draymond Green picked up his fourth foul. And if you're a Warrior fan, you got like a 10-point lead at the moment. Actually, it was a 9-point lead. I have it here in front of me. Draymond Green picks up his fourth foul with 6:36 left in the third quarter and has to check out. The Warriors have a 9-point lead. He does not play the rest of the third quarter. If I were to ask you at that moment, the moment that Draymond Green left the floor, 6:36 to go in the third, Warriors up by 9, and Draymond would not play again for the rest of the third. What would you guess that the lead or the score would be at the end of the third? Up by 9 when he leaves, 6.5 minutes on the clock. The Warriors outscored the Grizzlies by 3 in that final 6.5. Now, again, what D is saying at the beginning of that call is true. This is a very depleted and injured Memphis team. This doesn't mean that they've suddenly turned a great corner and they're going to rip off like 7 straight wins, right? Like, let's not overreact to a win over frankly, a bad Memphis team through no fault of their own, just dealing with a ton of injuries. Ja Morant out for the year. Desmond Bane out for a long time. Who else? Marcus Smart is out. Brandon Clark is out. Steven Adams has not played in over a year, and he just got traded yesterday. Derrick Rose has missed some time. You have a number of injuries to like your best players, and it's happened the entire season for Memphis. But the reality of the situation is they're just simply not a very good basketball team. So let's not overreact to one win and to one stretch without Draymond where the Warriors survived. But that was encouraging, right? Without Draymond Green, the Warriors were a +3 in the final 6.5 minutes of that third quarter. And what made it maybe even more encouraging is it's not like he had out there Steph and Clay and Podziemski and Kuminga and Looney or Trace Jackson-Davis or whoever. You were trotting out there Guy Santos and Lester Quinones. Nothing against those guys, but those are kind of the stretches, those two on the floor without Draymond Green, where you feel like, maybe the 9-point lead turns into a 1-point lead going into the fourth. And then instead of like a relatively painless, relatively easy win, you're looking at one that you really have to fight for. And on the front end of a back-to-back, you're traveling to Memphis tonight, you're traveling from Memphis to Atlanta tonight. You got to play Steph like 36, 37, 38 minutes just to get the win. Instead, as a result of Quinones and Santos playing good minutes, you get out of Memphis with a relatively painless win. Steph still played a handful of minutes. How many did he get tonight? He got up to 32, but normally you see him right around, I guess that's around where he gets, but you've seen him lately play more. But who did the heavy lifting tonight? It was Kuminga. He played 2 seconds shy of 37 minutes. Podziemski had 34 minutes off the bench. Those were the two Warriors with the most minutes tonight. And I think a reason for that and why maybe you got a little fewer minutes for Draymond Green, fewer minutes for Klay Thompson, fewer minutes than Stephen Curry is because in those 6.5 minutes at the end of the third quarter, the Warriors did manage to not just stay afloat, but they managed to outscore Memphis by a handful in that stretch. All right, let's go to Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr addressed the media after this game in Memphis. The Warriors victorious 121-101, a 20-point win. Nice to kick off this road trip for the Warriors. Steve Kerr talking with the media after the game. Jonathan Kuminga, Brandon Podziemski, I'm sure those were all addressed. Here is the head coach of the Golden State Warriors, Steve Kerr.
I just liked the way we stayed with it. We always know Memphis is going to fight. They play everybody tough, no matter how many guys they've got out. Taylor does a great job, and they just have an identity about them. And so we just lost here a couple weeks ago. So we knew it was going to be a grind, and we just stayed with it and methodically executed, took care of the ball for the most part, and defended really well for most of the game.
I think with 14 assists, 0 turnovers. How big a catalyst was he?
Brandon's great. I mean, he's just a basketball player. He's not a point. He's not a two guard. He's just a basketball player. And the extra ball handling that we have on the floor when he's out there with Steph is really important. And then when Steph goes to the bench, we really need him out there, to kind of run the team. So he just knows how to play. He's had a great rookie season, and he's just getting better.
Another big game from Jonathan. What'd you like the most about the way he played tonight?
JK has just really figured it out, and the game has slowed down for him, and he's understanding now when to attack, how to attack. Thought he made some good passes tonight. He's just so powerful and explosive going to the rim, and I think he's just seeing the floor better than ever. And he's this last month, I think he's really broken through, and it's just been amazing to watch because, it's 2.5 years of a lot of work and ups and downs, and he's stayed with it the whole time. And I'm so impressed with what he's done, and he's really becoming a hell of a player.
How key was his second quarter spurt just in getting you guys going tonight?
Yeah. I mean, the way Memphis guards us, they really make it difficult for Steph and Klay to get their usual shots, their usual actions, and so I thought JK really did a good job of kind of exposing, some of the ways they were guarding Steph and Klay and finding space and getting to the rim.
What have you thought of just Draymond's kind of just focus level and how he's handled his first however 5-6 games back?
He's been great. He's playing so well, first of all. I mean, he just fills up the box score, and 3 blocks tonight and 10 boards or 12 boards, 6 assists. But he makes our defense so much better. And, with this new lineup, we're playing with Wiggs and JK and Draymond on the front line. Feels like we're faster, more athletic, more capable of staying in front of people. And he's the guy who, he's the middle linebacker. He just calls out all the defensive coverages and sees the whole floor. And the guy's an amazing player.
Tell right when he got back, I know he didn't play for a while, but like that he was coming back kind of with purpose.
Yeah. He's been very focused. I think he was humbled, by what happened and the absence, and I think it gave him some time to think about how much he loves to play and loves to compete and loves to be part of the team, and he didn't want to see that slip away. So I'm just so impressed with the way he's handled himself, played through the frustration that comes when, there's a bad call or, a tough spell for him. He had maybe his first really frustrating moment of the night, or his return tonight, kind of mid first quarter, and he turned himself around, and that was a great sign.
All right, that's Steve Kerr from earlier tonight, addressing the media after the game in Memphis. The Warriors knock off the Grizzlies 121-101 behind Jonathan Kuminga. 29 points. He's now scored in 20 or more points in 8 consecutive games. 25 straight games scoring in double figures. And he has been the main reason the Warriors have looked and felt a little more daunting to opponents recently. And while the wins haven't necessarily been easy to come by for the Warriors, despite the fact that Kuminga is playing well. I mean, consecutive 1-point losses during that homestand last week. A 1-point loss to Sacramento 8 nights ago. A 1-point loss at home against the Lakers 6 nights ago. And that was the double overtime game. Like, the Warriors, they do feel a little bit. It's easier to, I'll put it this way. It's easier now to buy into this Warriors team making a little bit of a push. Not because you suddenly feel like Klay Thompson is back to pre-injury Klay. Not because Stephen Curry is playing at an MVP level, although he's having another fantastic season. Probably, should have been an all-star starter, although I can't really argue with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Luka Doncic. Those guys have been incredible this year. Not because, Andrew Wiggins is playing better, although he is. The reason that this team feels a little bit different right now is because of Jonathan Kuminga. 8 consecutive games with 20 or more points. You just look at some of the numbers recently. 29 tonight, 26 last time out, 31 against Sacramento, 28 against Milwaukee. He's not just having a nice stretch, he's having an all-pro stretch. Like, you do this over the course of a season and you're a first-team all-pro. You score 20-plus points, and it's closer to like 25 points per game. In fact, it's like 26 points per game on average over his last 8 games on 60+% from the field. You're an all-pro. He's also averaging 7 rebounds, a couple of assists. Like, this is not just, that's a nice stretch from Jonathan Kuminga. This is legitimately a fantastic all-pro kind of stretch from Kuminga. And it's not just against slouches. One up against Giannis, against Milwaukee on the road, 28 points, 10 of 18 from the field. One up against Sacramento with Sabonis and everyone else that the Kings have, 12 of 19 from the field, 31 points. Anthony Davis and LeBron James for the Lakers, 22 points, 8 of 16 from the field. And he's getting to the line and he's making his free throws as well. It's really, really encouraging for the Warriors. So if you're looking for a reason to be encouraged, it's not necessarily because you feel like beating Memphis by 20 means they're back, right? They're back. No, I mean, Memphis is a very, honestly, just a bad basketball team right now because of all their injuries. But you look at some of the individual developments for the Warriors, and it's a big, big reason why the Warriors should be feeling a little bit more confident moving forward. And now you got a test on the rest of this road trip, because up next, you've got Atlanta tomorrow, 4:30 tip. Coverage begins at 3:30 here on 95.7 The Game. And then you got Brooklyn, and then you got Philadelphia, and then you got Indiana. Philadelphia, a really good basketball team who you just beat at home. They were a little banged up, and they'll probably still be banged up when you play them next Wednesday, 5 days from now in Philly. Joel Embiid suffered a meniscus injury when he was in Golden State in San Francisco, and Kuminga unfortunately landed on his leg diving for a ball. You got Indiana. That's a good basketball team. Not many more fun basketball teams in the NBA than the Indiana Pacers. Tyrese Halliburton scores as much as anybody in the NBA and is a great passer as well. So you got some tough wins, or tough games coming up for the Warriors, and you got to do it on the road. And coming up next for Golden State is the Atlanta Hawks. And that's tomorrow at 4:30. Again, coverage begins at 3:30 here on 95.7 The Game as the Warriors try to win both ends of a back-to-back and put together a 3-game win streak. Prior to today, the Warriors had only put together win streaks. And if you're not watching on YouTube, I put up, the air quotation marks, win streaks. I don't know if you can call a 2-game win streak a win streak. I feel like win streaks are really more 3 or more. But consecutive wins for the Warriors at the moment. The only other win streaks the Warriors have had, 2 others Two others. The Warriors won 5 consecutive games early in the season. They lost their first game of the year, then won 5 in a row, and then they won 5 straight games mid to late December, leading up to that loss on Christmas in Denver, if you remember. Other than that, the Warriors have not won consecutive games this season. That's where we're at right now for the Warriors. And so it's a little difficult to not just shrug this off and be like, oh, well, just Memphis. Like, at least this Warrior team did handle business and win a game that they should win, because at times this year they have not done that. All right, wanted to remind you that you're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco, always live on the free Odyssey app, Twitch, and YouTube, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. We're talking about Jonathan Kuminga here, so I figure, why don't we just make Jonathan Kuminga our hardest worker of the game? Brought to you by the Alameda County Sheriff's Office, who works hard to serve the community. Are you looking for a career in law enforcement? Learn more about job opportunities at joinacso.com. It's got to be Jonathan Kuminga. That's the easiest, hardest worker of the game I've had the pleasure of handing out so far this season. Jonathan Kuminga, 29 points, 11 of 15 from the field, 6 of 7 from the free throw line, by the way. That is an underrated part of Kuminga's game. If you are going to attack the rim as much as he does, and he's doing it a lot, which is part of just what I absolutely adore about how his game has turned recently, even when opponents are leaving him open on the perimeter, he's only taking them when he's feeling good about his shot, when he's in a rhythm, when he's confident, and when things are flowing for him offensively. He works from the outside in. He gets himself into a rhythm by getting to the paint and scoring, getting to the free throw line and making those shots, and then he gets the confidence. He can feel it flowing. It's easy for him, and then he'll take some shots from downtown. And guess what? He took 1 3 tonight. It was in the second half after he was already kind of going off, and he hit it because he's confident in that moment. At times in the past, Kuminga would maybe shoot a 3 his first shot attempt of the night, or maybe he misses his first couple from inside and he gets a little frustrated, and the defense leaves him open from 3 and he takes it. And then suddenly you're looking at an 0 for 3 start from the field, a 1 for 5 start from the field. Then he gets in his own head. Like, that has not been happening. He gets rolling. And as he gets rolling and as he gains confidence and as he gets into a rhythm, he stays in a rhythm, and then he takes, he spaces out a little bit and he tests his limits, and he's doing a much better job at that. But he's our hardest worker of the game. Again, 29 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, had a couple of steals. He was fantastic tonight, and he is our hardest worker of the game. Once again, brought to you by the Alameda County Sheriff's Office. Up next, Sterling, we got our extending the three-point line. I'll let you surprise me, Sterling. Our extending the three-point line tonight, the Warriors in Memphis.
Thompson for 3. No. Ball deflected. Kuminga gets it low right. Double. Bounce pass. Back over to Clay. Left corner triple. Beautiful pass by Kuminga. 92-79. That's his 3rd assist.
Good pick. That's my favorite play of the day. Favorite play of the game for the Warriors. It was Klay Thompson missed a 3 on, I think it was Podziemski that actually got his hand on the rebound, tipped it over to Kuminga, who gathered it kind of in the right wing. No one really picked him up. He dribbled towards the baseline, maybe about 12, 15 feet away, stopped because Jaren Jackson Jr. came out. He could have shot over him. He could have tried to dribble around him, thought better of it. A one-handed, whipped bounce pass along the baseline, found Klay Thompson, who relocated to the corner after his missed 3, and a perfect pass from Kuminga and an easy catch-and-shoot 3 for Klay Thompson. He hit it. A big 3 points there. And as we were talking about earlier on the YouTube chat, shout out to all the YouTubers, youtube.com/957 The Game. The chat is powered by the First NorCal Credit Union. I love Jonathan Kuminga's reaction to the made Klay 3 off of his pass. I think I said earlier that he put 2 hands up in the air. It was just one big fist bump. I saw the replay while we were playing that Steve Kerr interview from earlier, the Steve Kerr postgame presser. It was one big fist bump for Jonathan Kuminga, and he was pumped up about that pass, and I love to see that because Kuminga is becoming a much better passer, and that hadn't really been much of his game until this stretch. And I think it's really, really important to not just focus on Jonathan Kuminga's scoring. He's scoring fantastic, and you love to see it. But he's playing so much better, and what he's doing is so much more impressive than just someone scoring 20 points tonight. Because he's on the glass, he's playing good defense, he's finding his teammates, and he's making the right decision with the ball in his hands. He's been fantastic, and I can't emphasize that enough. And if this is who the real Jonathan Kuminga is, right? If this is who Kuminga is moving forward, I can see that this is a team that has a better second half than they did first half. I know that's not saying a ton, but if Kuminga is like this, I mean, that's legitimately like a phenomenal piece to have on your team. And if he is like this or anything close to this for the second half of the season, this is a Warrior team that will certainly easily have a better record in the second half than they did in the first half. And that means most likely, at the very worst, a play-in berth. Again, I don't want to overreact to this one Warriors win in Memphis. And really, for me, it's less about tonight's win, although you absolutely had to have it. I mean, I called it the top of the show a must-win. Like, you got to have it. You can't convince yourself that you are going to have any kind of role in the postseason this year if you can't win in Memphis when they're playing without Ja Morant, without Desmond Bane, without Brandon Clark, without Marcus Smart, right? Without any of these guys. You just can't convince yourself that you can be that if you lose this game. So this was a must-win, and they got the job done. So check that box. But for me, it's more about the individual performances of Kuminga and Brandon Podziemski that give you a little bit more confidence that this is a team that, again, at the very least, will be better in the second half than they were in the first half. And again, that's not saying a ton, but considering the state of the Western Conference, you honestly aren't going to need to be that much better to sneak into the play-in. You're half a game out of the play-in at the moment. Like, you can sneak into the play-in if you only are, the rest of the season 4 games above 500 the rest of the way. Like, if you're a 500 team at the end of the regular season, there's a decent chance you're going to be in the play-in. Now, the Warriors would love to be the 6th seed, avoid the play-in, or at worst, be at the top of the play-in so you don't have to win consecutive road games. Like, if you're the 10 seed, you got to win on the road, and you got to win on the road again. If you're the 8th seed, you have 2 chances to win, one on the road, and if you don't win that one, then you have one at home. Like, the challenge is a whole lot less difficult if you're the 7 or the 8 than if you're the 9, or specifically if you're the 10. So we'll see, but if Kuminga is able to play like that moving forward, I mean, you know what you're going to get with Stephen Curry. Draymond Green is clearly still a phenomenal basketball player on both ends of the floor. It doesn't seem that difficult to imagine that this is a better Warrior team in the second half. And if that's the case, this is at worst a play-in team. I'm confident in saying that. If you get Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green the rest of the season, they stay healthy, and Jonathan Kuminga is anywhere near this for the rest of the year, this is at the very worst a play-in team, in my opinion. That's how important this Kuminga development is and what Draymond Green does to help link all of these units together. Because for this entire season, the Warriors have just been searching for some kind of common thread, common unit, a group that they could rely on game in and game out to give them positive minutes. And Draymond Green kind of links a lot of these units together. And, I mean, you give him a lot of the credit, but you also individually have to give the credit to Jonathan Kuminga as well. All right, that'll do it for Warriors wrap-up here tonight on 95.7 The Game. Again, the Warriors are back in action tomorrow when they take on the Atlanta Hawks on the road in Atlanta. Tip-off is at 4:30. Coverage begins at 3:30 here on 95.7 The Game. And I also wanted to remind you, we've got some special coverage for you coming up next week. The Warriors are on the road all of next week, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. Those are 4:30, and 4 o'clock games. All you need to know is if you're looking to listen to all of our Warriors coverage, Warriors Live an hour before tip, the game itself, and then Warriors wrap-up, you listen here on 95.7 The Game as you always do. However, if you are looking for a little bit more Niners coverage, all you got to do when those early Warrior games are going on, go to the YouTube stream, youtube.com/957 The Game. Hang out with all of our YouTubers. The chat is powered by First NorCal Credit Union. You can also visit our Twitch stream, twitch.tv/957 The Game, or download the free Odyssey app and search 957 The Game, and you can listen there. Because when the Warriors are on the air during those early windows on Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday of next week, Willard and Dibbs, who are on the air normally until 6 p.m., they're on a stream-only version of their show until 6, talking Niners as we, of course, get ready for Niners and Chiefs in the Super Bowl coming up next Sunday, 9 days from now, by the way. We're looking forward to that. But if you are looking for our Warriors coverage, you got to listen on 95.7 The Game on your radio. Otherwise, you can tune into Willard and Dibbs for Niners coverage, stream only on the Odyssey app or on our Twitch and YouTube pages, again, courtesy of First NorCal Credit Union. So again, Warriors in Atlanta tomorrow, 4:30 tip-off, 3:30 coverage begins here on 95.7 The Game. It will be, by the way, FP Santangelo with Warriors coverage pre- and post-game for you tomorrow. I've got some family business to attend to, but I'll be back with you guys on Monday with Willard and Dibbs and company on 95.7 The Game. Looking forward to that. But a good Warriors win tonight. They knock off the Memphis Grizzlies 121-101. For Sterling Bennett across the glass, my name is Mark Randy signing off. Shout out to all the callers. Shout out to the YouTubers and the texters on the Comcast Business Text Line. Thanks so much for tuning in. Have a great rest of your Friday night and a wonderful weekend.
I'm Bob Burke, founder and chairman of Burke America Parts Group, a family of brands that includes